My name is Mitch, and I'm originally from the Netherlands. And for my entire life, I've been addicted to the water.
My name's Tim, and a few years ago I bought an old sailboat. The plan was to live aboard and explore the islands of Scotland.
Tim had invited me on as crew. But little did I know I would fall in love with the boat and Scotland and with the captain himself.
What started out as a 3-month trip became something we wanted to last forever.
We share a love for the ocean and a thirst for adventure. Our life on the boat allows us to build a home together without having to settle down in one place.
We are quickly realizing that in this way of life, we have to learn to be self-sufficient. If we want to be surrounded by nature, we must learn to live from it.
Of course, we've learned to move by the wind and take our power from the sun. But when it comes to food, we always have to go back to port.
We love finding markets with fresh local produce, but we don't find them everywhere. And very often we end up at supermarkets, where almost everything has been imported and wrapped in packaging. It's the same whether it's a vegetable or a fish.
This one, for example, out of Thailand. It feels ridiculous to pay somebody to catch a fish, wrap it in packaging and ship it thousands of miles to us when we have fish right underneath the boat.
If we could catch fish and forage for other seafood, it seems like it would surely lower our environmental footprint and increase our independence, allowing us to stay out adventuring for longer. I think we both dream of sailing between remote atolls, surfing waves, and living from the sea. So we're setting out on a quest to learn lost skills, to better understand life beneath the waves, and to try to live in greater harmony with the natural world we call home.
We've come to meet Jimmy, an expert in holding his breath. He can dive down for minutes at a time and to incredible depths.
For our mission to live off the sea, it's going to help a lot if we can dive beneath the surface. And Jimmy seems like the man with the skills we're after.
Taking a freediving course before spearfishing is really interesting because you can get to know your potential and get to know yourself underwater in a very controlled manner.
We now already lived for 3 years on a sailboat and never caught any fish. So I thought a good beginning is to learn actually how to dive beneath the surface and how to do that safe and in a good way.
Well, to be able to get a fish, you're going to have to be like a fish.
Our training ground is a submerged volcanic crater, which offers deep water and protection from the wind. But before we can swim out to the freedive platform, there's a lot to learn, starting with how we breathe before a dive.
Overbreathing, also called hyperventilation, is very dangerous and will actually put you at a lot of risk underwater.
How much breathing is too much breathing?
Is this hyperventilation? Is this hyperventilation? Yes, but if I do it once, it's not really hyperventilation. If I do it for 5 minutes, it is. Now when you start hyperventilating, you drop this CO2 and it delays that response of your body saying, I need to breathe. a lot of accidents with spearfishers that go out, they don't take courses, they don't know anything. They hyperventilate because they know that it makes it easier. They end up blacking out. Every weekend you hear someone that was found washed up on shore, a spearfisher.
Jimmy shows us that normal breathing is enough to saturate the blood with oxygen. So all we need to do is relax for a few minutes and prepare for one last breath.
So our full breath is going to be the main goal is going to be to quiet the mind, rest the body, okay, and lower the heart rate.
Techniques for using less oxygen will of course allow us to stay down for longer. In freediving, it translates to greater depths, and in spearfishing, it will create more time to find dinner.
Now it can be tricky in spearfishing, okay? Because I had this a lot. Sometimes you're down there on the sand waiting for a fish, you're waiting for a while, it's been 1.5, 2 minutes, you start getting a few contractions, you're like, okay, time to go. And then all of a sudden, this big fish comes by. Contractions are gone. It's so funny. Your brain is like, nah, breathing, nah, look at that, we're getting that. And this is when it can get tricky, because then you wait longer and you actually go for the fish, your heart rate goes up, maybe you shoot it and then you have to bring it back up, it's a lot more energy. This is why you should always have someone to be here to help you if you're struggling to get back up.
As part of our safety training, we learn how to identify a blackout and how to perform a rescue.
Jimmy, breathe. Jimmy, breathe.
Nice.
Jimmy's a great coach, and by day 2, we're getting down to 25 meters.
Yeah, it was way more this time. I felt what was going on. I tried to pay attention to it, and it's a big difference.
Well done.
Good, thanks. Yeah, go!
The fishermen we are meeting in Dominica are either feeding their families or selling their modest catch, fresh on the street.
Humans have been hunter-gatherers for most of their existence, and people have been fishing for at least 40,000 years. So it feels like it must be possible to do it for ourselves.
Back at the boat, we prep the camera because we've been invited by Jimmy and friend Cassandra to join their hunt for lionfish.
Their goal is to reduce the number of this invasive species and to stock up their freezer. I do have to be careful while filming because the lionfish spines are poisonous, and on top of that, Jimmy has just given a spear to Mitch and she's never used one before. Unbelievably, she gets one with her first shot.
Apparently lionfish are usually found in the Indo-Pacific. It's thought that the aquarium industry somehow exposed them to the wild over here, and their presence is damaging the natural state of the reef. So we are pretty happy to call this our first catch.
Okay, go on, Mitch. How do these actually taste?
So this one is for you, this one is for me. They are definitely delicious.
And one step closer to living from the sea. Well,
I definitely have to eat some more, otherwise I'm not living tomorrow anymore.
We've decided we want to get to the Bahamas. It's clear water and huge expanse of reef systems. Looks like the perfect place to develop our skills. But first there's something with the boat we have to fix.
the last few weeks we've been struggling a little bit with our anchor windlass. So if you don't know what that is, it's essentially a motorised winch which allows us to lift up the anchor and its chain easily. We've diagnosed that it's the windlass motor that needs replacing, and if we make a little detour, we can pick up a replacement in the British Virgin Islands. A 3-day passage at sea offers plenty of headspace to process some of our thoughts. Fishing has had quite a bad time in the media, but is every fishery suffering from overfishing, bycatch, pollution, and environmental destruction? Should we even be trying to catch fish? Is it an ethical choice?
Time for fish. I'm on my last night watch from this passage. Tomorrow morning we're gonna be there. Yay! So then we're gonna catch up on some sleep and discovering a new place.
Sailing into the British Virgin Islands, we're reminded why we choose this way of life. Islands to explore. An underwater paradise. Uncrowded waves. And even pirates' caves. But it's not all rainbows, dolphins, sunsets and pina coladas. Throughout our travels, we're working remotely, and then spend even more time maintaining our boat. Cherry right. Lowlights are easy to pick from, whether it's scrubbing a fuel tank, fixing a broken toilet, being stung by sea critters when cleaning the hull, or having to save the rigging while halfway across the Atlantic. Learning to fix the boat is part of being as self-sufficient as possible.
Installing the new windlass motor here in the BVI's should be easy enough if we can fish the cables through the deck.
We did it. Well, we got one through. This thing amazing. Okay, step 1. The cables are through. Can't believe it.
Yeah, up.
Just a little bit up. Okay. Well, that's working.
After some research, I realized that the BVI's might offer some more to the project than just a pit stop.
We are on our way to Anegada. It's one of the most farther out islands, and it's known for its big lobster population.
Getting a fishing permit here is not possible at short notice, but we're hoping we can at least find a fisherman to share some of his knowledge.
This trip to Anegada has been a bit of a last-minute decision, so we haven't had the chance to actually arrange someone to meet and film with. There's clearly no shortage of lobster, with restaurants lining the shore. But finding a fisherman to share some tips is harder than we thought.
The next day, by complete chance, we bump into Captain Frenchie.
We come from a long line of fisher folks. My grandparents were fishermen, my parents, my brother, my uncle. I got 4 sons, they're all fishermen.
We can't believe our luck when he invites us lobster trapping. Frenchie explains to us that we can't just take any lobster. Young ones must be given a chance to reproduce. And of course, those carrying eggs must also be put back.
Oh, egg. So this is the female, yeah, with the egg.
Yeah, that's the female. Once we've taken something out of the ocean, we have to manage it and make it sustainable for our children and grandchildren. We have been a commercial fisherman, but a very protective commercial fisherman. It's feed in the community, but at the same time, try maintain it for future generations. Because without nature, who are we? You know?
Back on shore, Frenchie makes snares for us so we can catch lobster for ourselves when we get to the Bahamas.
And you get it down to the horn and you pull.
Okay, yeah.
And now you got it.
And when it comes to fishing, he says we should avoid the biggest fish on the reef, such as barracuda, which might cause ciguatera poisoning.
I've seen people all the hair fall out, the teeth, the itching, the impotence, like stun their growth, all the hair in the body fall off, diarrhea, the vomiting. And when it comes time to stool, man, like somebody got a pliers hole and a roll of barbed wire and pulling it. Terrible.
Over a couple of days with Captain Frenchie, we learned so much.
This is my college. They went to college on land, I went to college in the ocean. You know, be safe. All right?
Thank you so
Come
much.
back in.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Mitch is in the process of dispatching these lobsters that we got today with Frenchie, the fisherman.
Okay. Oh wait, I can press the trouble.
Oh, hold on.
I have to do it now. Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Whew. Yeah.
You're straight in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
There's a bit of
light.
shell on that. What's the verdict? Good
Really
stuff.
good. Oh.
Yeah, I'm not even going to use any cutlery.
No?
Just gonna go.
Well,
Wow, absolutely incredible. Armed with a good weather window and a growing bank of knowledge, we can finally set our course for the Bahamas. It could be up to 5 days at sea, so it's going to be as good a chance as any to catch a fish on a hook and line.
So we've had the fishing line out for a couple of hours now. No bites. Not sure if we've got the lure too close to the boat. Sort of about 2 boat lengths off the back, 1.5. So yeah, crossing our fingers. We have never caught a fish off the back of cherry ripe, so after 3 years.
we got a fish.
Got him.
Okay, get him in the boat.
Watch out, Mitch.
Yeah. Woo!
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
First ever fish on cherry ripe. Absolutely beautiful. My.
Now we have to fillet him.
Yeah. Amazing. This is just ridiculous.
Yeah, there you go.
It'd be easy in a kitchen on land. This is
Oh,
tough. Going as
okay.
quick as I can.
Oh, but beautiful fillet.
Yeah, a little bit of meat left, but for a first ever go, it's
Go.
After starting with sashimi, there's enough to keep us going for the rest of the passage.
exciting.
Fresh fish for lunch. Big wave.
We arrived to Great Anegua, which is one of almost 700 islands which make up the Bahamas. And we can't wait to dive in as soon as we dropped anchor. We've got the snares that Frenchie made for us, so we're hoping to find some lobster for dinner.
Tried on different reefs around the boat, shallow, deep, different time, but no luck yet.
And yeah, the lobster season closes in a week, so we're going to keep trying. But next stop is Long Island. What is it?
Got barracuda.
We heard from Frenchie back in the BVIs that fish like barracuda can have ciguatera poisoning. So we're just wondering if we can pull him up to the side of the boat, get the hook out and release him. And I guess that's why we're trying to learn to spearfish essentially, because then you choose what you shoot and what you take. Now we're just sticking out a hook and it's lucky dip or unlucky dip.
To advance our spearfishing, we have come to learn from William Trubridge and have agreed to meet him at Dean's Blue Hole. It's 202 meters deep and is where he has set several of his 18 world records in freediving. Watching him descend into the abyss is something special and quite surreal.
We just came out of water with William. Later on he gonna take us to show how he catches dinner.
Yeah, we're going to do some Hawaiian sling off one of the beaches here. Looking with some mutton snapper, hopefully not too many sharks around. We're a little bit nervous, but...
I'm excited.
Okay, that's a good mix.
Sea is my home and my gym, and today hopefully my supermarket as well.
It's a long swim out to the reef that William wants to explore, and as soon as we arrive, we realise that we're not the only hunters out here today. We have to get any catch into the bucket at the surface as quickly as possible, because an injured fish is exactly what will get the sharks excited.
Here in the Bahamas, we have a healthy population of sharks. You have to kind of exert confidence over them and show them that, no, this is my dinner that I'm trying to get here. Can you let me have it, please? You're down there on its own terms. You're actually a sea creature yourself. So spearfishing in general is a much more selective means of fishing than, say, handline fishing or definitely than nets. In spearfishing, there's zero bycatch. You can select the species and you can select the size of the species, and also there's very minimal emissions that are associated with it. So we can swim off the shore here without a boat, under our own power. I feel like it's a healthy choice, as well as if it can be sustainable, then it's an ecological choice as well.
It feels that it's time for us to set out and see if we can do this for ourselves.
It's hard to know exactly what to catch. There's obvious things we've heard about, like hogfish, Nassau grouper, and then there's all the other fish. So we definitely got to just get familiar with what's edible, what's legal to shoot, what kind of size is a big enough size, because you don't want to shoot a juvenile. Despite having no luck on the fishing front, we're both in agreement that this is one of the most beautiful places we've ever seen.
It really feels we are in the Bahamas now. I think if you dream about Bahamas, I think this is what you think of.
Yeah.
It's like our own private beach at low tide.
Yeah.
So we've been out spearfishing the last couple of days, and the learning curve is quite steep. First of all, we have to find a good reef to dive on. Then you have to make sure the current is not too strong. Then you have to find the fish. And then you have to use your pole spear, and that is a whole technique in itself.
A technique which Tim definitely still has to work on, because you have to hold on to this type of spear.
I missed it. How could I possibly miss that?
We start making contact with the fish, but I'm convinced the spear is just bouncing off. The most we can manage is to pick up a conch from the bottom, which we're happy with, but is hardly enough to sustain ourselves.
Our neighbours offer to share their catch, as well as their ideas about how we're going wrong. They reckon our spear is too short and the tip is too bulky. And to make things even more challenging, we get absolutely whooped by a really bad patch of weather. In fact, hurricane season is on the way, and we need to get to a safer latitude sooner rather than later.
apparently there's been a leak in the inflatable section of the dinghy overnight, and so the back has just fallen in. It can't support the engine. Don't know if we're going to be able to fix it. Don't know how long it's been in the water. They're supposed to be pretty simple things, these two-stroke engines, but this is really going to be soaked with salt water all the way through, so try and fix it. It's just quite annoying because, yeah, trying to learn to live from the sea, and this is essentially our car now out of action for at least today, if not forever. So yeah, not only spearfishing is going to be affected, just actually doing anything getting to shore here in the Bahamas. The good thing is that this didn't happen when we were like after coming up from a dive or a spearfishing session, like on an outer reef or something. At least happened when we weren't in it. It is. Let's try and fix this thing.
Yeah, this one.
Nice.
Do you have hope for our dinghy engine?
I think we can get the water out of at least this top part. I think we have already. We've turned over in the engine, so that's some water's come out the bottom. So yeah, step by step.
Do you hear that sound? The dinghy is working, at least the dinghy engine. The dinghy has still a leak in there what we can't fix, but we pumped it up so we could test the engine, and that is working, so really happy.
So we have some very good news. We have got hold of some new pole spears, twice as long as the one that we've been using before. Apparently that's going to give way more power and more reach. We've also got new spear tips, which are just way sharper.
So if we don't catch any fish now, we have no excuses anymore, and then we're just really bad fisher people.
We have success from the very first shot, and the new spears seem to be a total game changer. In literally one session, we transformed from complete failure to a lethal team capable of putting food on the table. But before we get carried away with our newfound powers, we reach out to fisheries scientist Krista Sherman to get a better understanding about how to fish responsibly from the wild.
In our lives, we're trying to learn to live from our surrounds, and our surrounds are the ocean. But we want to do it in a sustainable way. Do you think that's still possible?
Places like the Bahamas that are surrounded by water, we're island nations, coastal nations, so we have a long history of living off the sea, and even dating back to like the earliest inhabitants. I do feel really strongly that fishing for seafood, for fisheries, can be done sustainably. It just requires effort and commitment. It's just about making sure if people are harvesting fish, they're not doing it when they're breeding so that those populations can continue, that they're not doing it with fish are undersized, and that they're not using fishing methods that are destructive to the environment. We have a responsibility, I think, with our choices to kind of better exist with nature and to make sustainable seafood choices and to be smart about our decisions.
we catching some fish now, but the size is quite small, so we want some bigger ones, so we can just like eat longer from it, don't have to go out every day.
Suddenly, everything we've been learning comes together, and Mitch is over the moon with her latest catch.
Yeah, it was crazy. I saw it. I said to Tim, okay, I'm gonna catch that one. I did a good breathe up, went down, I stayed really calm, and he just opened up for me. And it was like, poof, I got it. But it was quite a bit bigger than I had before, so I really felt like pulling on my spear, and I was swimming back to the dinghy, and there were sharks around, and Tim was saying just like, swim, swim.
To be as safe as possible for hurricane season, we're trying to get much further north in the USA. But already we're experiencing electrical storms every afternoon, so we feel safer using the intracoastal waterway rather than sailing offshore.
It's everywhere around us, and it's flash after flash. I never saw something like this.
We're trying to get 700 miles north to Virginia, but it means travelling 7 hours every day for a month. So going out foraging all day long is not exactly on the agenda, and the water is hardly suited for our spearfishing skills. In fact, if we wanted to fish here, we wouldn't even know where to start. What should we target? What method should we use? Foraging is clearly a local skill, which differs depending on the place and ecosystem we're harvesting from. In this moment, we just don't have the chance to stop and learn, and we need to eat. So we'll be heading back to where we started this journey, the supermarket. In the Bahamas, scientist Krista said that fishing can be sustainable, so we're interested to see what we can find. We come across a useful traffic light system on the Seafood Watch website, which offers an updated list of best choices and things to avoid.
So this is our catch of the day. Tilapia filet, responsibly sourced. Salmon, responsibly sourced.
If we can look past the plastic packaging and the sheer distance some of these products have travelled, there are options which are considered to be from sustainable harvesting. And to be sure about it, we need to know how it's caught and where it's from.
It's albacore tuna. It's sustainably pole and line caught by US vessels in North and South Pacific. We've got the MSC label. I've checked it on the Seafood Watch website, so that is good.
At the supermarket, for every item that we found on the green list, there'd be many more on the red list, and we fell into the trap.
This was a bit of a mistake, this one. I mean, yeah, Atlantic salmon, responsibly sourced. It turns out, when you actually look closely, product of Chile. When you go on the computer, put in salmon from Chile, that is on the avoid list from the Seafood Watch. So it's kind of definitely tricky for somebody like me in the supermarket to know that this is not a good choice. It's just responsibly sourced.
It does seem that some supermarkets are willing to sell us anything. It really puts the onus on us to be conscious and responsible about what we buy. I reach out to an old friend from my zoology degree course, who now works as a fishery scientist.
You're in like a proper official office. I thought there'd be a fish tank behind you.
Yeah, no, that's outside.
So as you know, we've been trying to learn to live from the sea, and now we're in the USA.
I think what you're describing is a pretty common journey for most people, whether you're living on, well, most people who are questioning their impact of life, their life on Earth, whether you're living on the land or in the ocean, trying to work out what should I eat? You know, what is ethical, what is the moral choice, what is sustainable, what is not sustainable.
But at the supermarket, it was actually pretty hard to buy sustainable seafood.
Fisheries and seafood eating is complicated. Like if it was really simple and there were simple rules, everyone would be happy. But it's not.
Genevieve tells us to explore what's called regenerative ocean farming, where the activity boosts the ecosystem while harvesting at the same time.
But there's loads of wind in your trousers, so you
Pop it up.
you pop it.
It's like a Oompa Loompa.
Yeah, you look like a Oompa Loompa. Yeah.
We've come to meet Chris Ludford, a commercial fisherman for much of his life, who has since turned to oyster farming.
So basically it takes 1 year to go from the baby oyster to market size to sell. We don't pelletize the food. They eat the same thing as a wild oyster. Okay, so once I'm in, I sweep and then cut the adductor muscle, which is this muscle here.
Yeah.
And that's the one that holds the oyster together. See it right there?
Oh yeah.
Yep. All right, throw that in there. Okay, we separate it. That's for you.
Oh, that is really good.
That's good, isn't it?
That is really good.
Sweet.
We'd heard about the sort of environmental benefits as well, like...
Oh yeah, sure.
How does that work?
Well, you know, oysters are filter feeders. They filter up to 50 gallons a day. As they eat algae, they love to eat algae. But if there's fertilizer like phosphorus or nitrogen, they eat that with it. And then when they get rid of it, they poop it out. It's a lot more stable, you know, so they improve the water quality that way.
And the benefits keep coming. It's thought that the calcium and carbonate coming off the shells improves the pH in acidified waters.
You know, we over-harvested, you know, in the last couple hundred years. So while we eat aquaculture oysters, we're letting the wild oysters come back.
Nothing goes to waste, and even the empty shells are put to use.
We'll sprinkle, if you don't mind. Yeah, just throw them out there. Yeah, just like that. Not only are we letting the reefs rebuild themselves, but we're helping them by putting the shell out. The nooks and crannies in the reef support places for crabs and shrimp to hide. Then the fish come to feed on them. You know, so you've got the food chain building right there off of the oyster reef.
As we lift the boat out to prepare for a new mission, it's a chance to reflect on this learning journey that has spanned several months and over 3,000 nautical miles.
We'll never forget the places we have been and the generous people we've met, who have transformed our skills and our ideas.
We've come to understand the importance of fishing to coastal communities, and that there are sustainable seafood options out there if we're willing to be active and conscious about our choices. For our lives on the water, foraging offers us self-sufficiency, a chance for a lower impact diet if we're mindful, and a close connection with our food that we've never had before.
And it's all part of a growing realization that the natural world is more than just a thing of beauty, but something that we are part of and depend on for survival.